giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Just add water's crazy. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're streaming live on YouTube. Y'all know it's Wednesday. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Yes, indeed, it's Wednesday. That means we are turning the page to the next opponent, and that opponent is the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I'm going to need my Cowboys to head on down to Miami and become the cocaine Cowboys. We got to have that Griselda Blanco Black Widow energy down there in Miami. I'm just saying. Can't be down this soft. No, sir. No, sir. So we're going to talk about the Cowboys defense against that prolific, dynamic, electric, explosive, whatever, verb, adjective, whatever you want to call it, of the Miami Dolphins. And doing so with my guy, my brother from another, Akoye, Media Cowboys Nation. But before we get into all that, man, welcome, Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
I feel like today it shouldn't be the Archer, it should be the shouts out to Drew Lock, man. Hold it down for us. Shouts out to Drew Lock. And shouts out to, I said, like my guy, Akoye Me. Let's bring him on in. What's good, bro? How you doing this morning?
What up, Brody? How you, man? He
good,
said
bro.
Cocaine Cowboys. I started cracking up. I said, oh, yeah.
I already know you know about Cocaine Cowboys. I ain't got
I already know.
I ain't got to say
How
nothing
you
to you.
Hold up. How you know?
Come on, man.
What do that even mean?
Akoye. Look, see what y'all don't know. Akoye would send me a no, not like that. No. Not like that.
Like, I know you know about the cocaine. Like, goddamn. Teach you about the
Hold
dope
on.
game. You know what I mean?
Hold on, so
Okay.
What's
then,
God trying to say,
now,
man?
the
Dang.
cocaine's happening.
when does crack? Now, so the cocaine's happening. When does that crack come into play for you?
Tell us, Akoye. When was you out there slang? Come on. I promise you. I'm not an informant. No, sir. We good here.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Akoye, like, what's that? What's the powdery substance? I don't know what you're talking about. That's flour. What are you talking about?
Like Coke. Look like fucking LeBron talking about Coke. Like, what? Like, no.
See,
Coke?
what y'all don't know is
Damn.
about
Funny,
like
man.
every other week, Akoye he'll shoot me something on Instagram, right? And I don't got
You might want to watch this.
do I got the music in the background? On this day, 1984.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me go ahead and search this on YouTube, and I just get in my
real
bag.
shit,
It'd be some real stuff, man. That's how I know you know though, Akoye,
Yeah.
because you into the documentaries like me, man. I ain't dry
That's what
snitching
you
no
meant.
more, boy.
I didn't know what you meant. Now I drive this to myself.
You sure did. Damn. What's good though with you,
Said
dog?
oil. Like Chappelle. He said, oil, what oil? Bitch, you cooking?
Smack him out.
Man.
Anyway, man, we done starting off the show
That
wild.
shit
What's good with you,
funny,
fam?
Man. Damn, I'm good, man. I'm happy, man.
I'm glad we can bring the
Everything
show
good.
in with a laugh,
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's gonna get real serious down there in Miami. What did you
Yeah,
call
it
that
is.
offense?
Motion sickness, man.
Motion
It's-
sickness.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how well you communicate. It's like they're going to confuse it. They're going to frustrate you. They're going to stress it out, especially with their motions, because they do multiple motions. Most times they're throwing. They do have a pattern though. There's multiple motions when they're throwing. It's usually one
Oh,
motion
yeah.
when they're running.
They
Yeah,
that's
multiple
that's
throw.
crazy.
One motion run.
According
did
to
see
me, bro, you're like a human. You're like a human computer, because you're right. There is a pattern, and I'm gonna wait for you to say it, and I'm gonna give the exact number, because you come with the analysis, and I got the numbers right behind you to back it up.
Yeah,
I got you.
I don't know the numbers. I just know I see it.
I know
you know what I mean?
I know,
You be
but
like,
that's
no, this is what you're looking at.
but
I'm
that's
like,
what's
all right,
dope.
yeah,
Is that
that's
you,
where art
you
meets
see
science
it?
and
Yes,
shit. Yeah.
yes. But
for
before we get
sure.
into breaking down the offense, I've been having this conversation since Monday. I actually was having it last week, Akoye. The importance of winning one of these games, which when I say one of these games, I was talking about Buffalo and I was talking about
Hmm.
Miami. I felt like inside
Yeah.
that locker room, the Cowboys needed to be able to come away with, you would hope both of these victories in Buffalo and Miami, but at the very least, one heading to the playoffs because it looks like you're
Yeah.
potentially going to be playing on the road. Well, we'll see. We'll see because Philly keep dropping
Maybe.
games. But you won't have home field advantage. So I
Yeah.
was just like, man, Cowboys need to get a confidence booster beating a quality team on the road. Didn't
Hmm.
happen last week on Sunday. You did a fantastic breakdown real quick on the defense struggling in Buffalo. If you guys didn't get a chance to
Thank
check that out, bro, I mean, when Akoya get passionate about what he's
you.
seeing on the
That
film,
was
bro, it
yeah.
go crazy. But yeah, if you want to kind of briefly talk about some of the things you mentioned with the defense in
Yeah,
Buffalo.
man. And it's hard. You notice I haven't done a lot of defensive breakdowns this season because it's schematically or philosophically, I do have some issues with it. But it's hard to talk about when you're blowing teams out because nobody will listen or believe what you're saying. But two, it's hard to talk about players that you like. You can like a player and what they stand for and how they play, but not like how they're being used.
Mm.
So I try to temper how I criticize because there's a difference between me not liking certain players, right, and then me not liking how our players use. And the way our linebacker core and personnel has been used this season, to me, is a head scratcher due to the fact that we ask our linebackers to actually play hero ball, if you will, because we're not setting edges and playing like a stagnant, calm defense. Everybody's playing like their hair is on fire. We're a high pursuit team, but when you have undersized linebackers that have to deal with a line like Buffalo at that,
Yeah.
that's headstrong on running, and then the penalties and some of the things that put us behind made it so that you're not getting like some window dressing runs and then dealing with the pass, which is okay for us, but you're getting heavy run. And when we didn't have an answer for heavy run, and having a guy out there that we argue all the time is either 205, 210, and then another guy out there who's really still in his rookie year in Clark. He's still in his rookie year. He didn't play his first game until October of last season. So he's just past rookie as far as experience on the field. So that to me wasn't the answer when you have two first round draft picks on the team that are linebackers in either Micah or Evans. And when I see that and I watch some of the things that we were doing, it kind of ticked me off. A lot of people were coming at the defensive tackles. I'm like, the defensive line was the only, well, defensive line and secondary were the only spots that I looked at were like, they're not doing a bad job. Like when I look at a safety miss a tackle in open space, I look at how he got in open space, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really mad at Wanye for missing some of those tackles out in space. He was actually one of the only ones flying to the ball. And then up front, if you're soaking up a double team but not making the tackle or not making the play, that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it so that your linebackers can make those plays. And if you're going to funnel everything to linebackers from a run perspective, they have to be able to be stout, get rid of their guys, and still make plays. And we didn't see that last week. And there was no counter for that last week. That was intentional. And when I
Yep.
say intentional, I mean you watched Evans get in his first snap, tackle for loss, I think, by a linebacker, jumped in there, tackle for loss on goal line. I said, okay.
Downhill.
And then they take him off the field. And I'm like, and we go back to getting ran through. And if you're going to say Bell and those guys are in there for coverage, then I shouldn't see Cooks routing those guys up too. He was routing them up and running through them. So either way, it's no reason or rhyme or reason for why they were asked to play the way they were playing. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think the answer in the presser was what you saw yesterday was me responding to the presser. It wasn't the game because I'm like, oh, I wasn't that mad at the game. I said they beat us bad. But I looked at the penalties as the reason. When I watched schematically what was going on, and his answer for that, if it was, hey, that's on me. Hey, yeah, I got to do a better job of changing personnel, putting these guys in position to make
Didn't
plays.
say none of that.
Okay, I can live with that. When you say our guys just weren't making tackles, I say, oh hell no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, I
So now I
mean,
got to look. Now I got to talk.
yeah, a 205-pound linebacker having to deal with linemen coming at him all day. It's gonna be tough, to make tackles.
Yeah,
And look,
no,
he needed to play better. Clark and
yeah,
Bell and Kurtz, they did not play well against the run. There's no denying
no,
that, right?
no,
But
they didn't.
like you just said, like how do you counter that? One of the things that got brought up, you mentioned it in your breakdown. They talked about it yesterday. We talked about it here on the show. Was they kept getting taken advantage of in that small, big nickel set. It sounds crazy, oxymoron saying small, big, but it
Small,
was.
big. Yeah,
It's a small set, but it's a big nickel, and they will
yeah,
come out in a heavier set and run on
yeah,
you. So they asked Dan about that, right? Dan
right.
said, "Well, we decide what our counter or what our answer to that was. We come out in a 5-man front." And what you said in your breakdown just now was, well, that 5-man front is designed to funnel it to your linebacker, and they were funneling it to who? Marquise Bell.
No,
He's not
yeah.
really. I mean,
They're
I don't
not
think
scared.
people
They're
understand.
target. They want. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah, I don't
ahead.
think
Finish that.
people understand, bro, that Marquise Bell just started playing back. Yes, we get excited when he makes plays and things like that. But when teams are deliberately saying we're going to run at you, he said it in like week 3 or whatever it was. Hey, I'm still learning run fits. And you could see that not just from him. You saw it from Kurtz being undisciplined with his run fits. We talked about Illuminati chat where we think that, Malik Hooker, we'll talk about him in a second too. He's really good coming down the alley. We talk about linebackers that understand. He's still learning the backup position. You talked about
Yeah,
Clark being, still young. He's still technically a rookie in games played per se, or a little
yeah,
bit more than a rookie in
yeah.
games
So
played.
is Bell. Really,
Oh yeah, Bell's just learning
he's a
the
rookie. He was
position.
redshirted last year.
Yeah,
He was
and
redshirted last year. He was a safety last year.
yep,
Now this season he became a linebacker. So he's a
sure.
rookie 2 times over. Even if he was playing safety, he's a rookie to me.
And then you get the one guy who you brought up. If you go wide, I know it was only a few snaps, and not all of them were great, but there were a few where in Rashaan Evans, you saw
Hmm.
him do linebacker things, and he
That's all I
made
want to
some
see.
plays, man. So
Yeah,
yeah, that second unit, and particularly one guy in the third unit. I mean, yeah, Wanye missed a tackle, but Wanye was, you said it in your breakdown, he was the
I
one
wasn't
coming
mad
down
at
there with
Wanya.
force. Yeah,
Wanye was one. Him and D Law were playing like their hair was on fire. And I
yep,
would say Evans, but he didn't get enough time. But for him to have 3 tackles in that game, and one tackle for loss off 3 tackles or 4 tackles, and with the playing time that he had was crazy. I'm like, this would have been a 12, 15 tackle game for Evans if he played. You know what I mean? Because he had 3 and he was only in on maybe 5 plays, maybe 6. That's it. So he was highly productive in that game. But the thing that kind of ticked me off though was the fact that, like you said, if your linebacker, and you remember Martellus Bennett said, I want linebackers that eat with their hands. I want barbarians. You know what I mean? If your linebacker is the guy that the running back, who's not even a bruising back, is looking for, targeting, that's bad. You know what I mean?
mm,
It's no way you could say that's good. Nobody's ever looked at Ray Lewis or Rolando McClain or just shit or what's his name? Roquan
Sean
Smith.
Lee,
None of those guys. Shit, Roy Williams. Nobody's like, hey, let me find this guy and run at him. That does not happen. And you saw them ISOing Bell. They were just saying, we'll run right at. They were running right at him. And that should never happen if you're a linebacker in this league. Now, I get it on third downs. You get caught with a screen or a draw, and you have your small package out there, pause, but you have them out there. I get that, if that's what's happening because they caught you, in a pass look because
sure.
they came out in a pass look and ran. But when they're coming out with 12 and 13 personnel and you're still coming out with only 6 up front, maybe even 7, but they're light, it doesn't matter that you have those guys near the line of scrimmage. When you have, this is what your array looks like. You got Clark and then Bell on one side, Wilson on the other, or some Kurtz in there. Nobody, no matter where you look, all they were deciding to do to us is say, we're going to run away from whatever side D-Law is on. We're not running at D-Law. We're going to run at Micah Parsons, and we're going to run at whoever the opposite edge of D-Law is, no matter what. We're going to run at Osa if we can double team Osa and get some push there. And then we're going to try to get our hands on the second level. And they were able to do that every time because we weren't giving them any help. If you have an anchor, and I used to see this with Pernell McPhee. Pernell McPhee and D-Law run fits remind me of each other. Pernell, if anyone who doesn't know who Pernell McPhee is, he was
Baltimore.
a defensive end, outside linebacker for Baltimore, Chicago, but one of the best run stopping defensive ends I've seen in recent years, not named DeMarcus Lawrence. What they used to do with him is they would tilt the line away from him, meaning everybody's moving away from him. I mean, he's ISO'd over there. So they're kind of like making it sweet and honey, like hot, like go there, go that way. You know what I mean? And then they would tilt the defense the opposite way. So you have numbers one side, even if you're small, you have numbers to one side, meaning you run over here, we have leverage, we have more men than you have defensively. You run over there, you have to deal with him. We didn't do any of that. We had D-Law next to Mozzie. Okay, those two are, that's a force that you don't want to have to run at. Then on the other side, you'd have Micah Parsons and Osa. Of course, they're running that way. And defensively, whether you're on the field instinctively or a defensive coordinator wise, you got to know that they're definitely not going to run that way, right? So numbers should go to the side, to the weak side, and they didn't do that. They would have numbers to DeMarcus Lawrence's side and Mozzie's side. And they don't need the help. Shift the opposite way. It just, to me, that was, if it wasn't common sense in the beginning of the game, it should have been common sense as the game went on, because you can clearly see what they're doing. And we never did any of that, nothing. And I'm like, and then we were still coming out, those 2 long runs for touchdowns. We were in 6-man fronts against 7 and sometimes 7 men, seven blockers, right? They'll have 12 personnel. They'll have 13 personnel. They have a fullback back there, and the fullback will be spread out high or wing. And I'm like, how are you not seeing this? And the play in particular that I'm talking about, I know you watched it. You had Curse on the field, one side with that fullback that was on the wing. Curse, gets blocked by the fullback, doesn't get rid of him. Then the opposite side of the field, you have Clark playing that outside linebacker role on a tackle. Number 73 takes him 20 yards up the field and pancakes him and breaks him too, hurts him. And then you see Bell in the middle of the field get reach blocked and then also pushed all the way out of view. I couldn't even see him anymore. He was gone. So those are your 3 linebackers on that play. After you see that, to run out there with those 3 again, and the only reason Evans even got in was because Clark got ripped apart. Other than that, he wouldn't have got in. So to see that and still not put Evans in the game is, to me, is stubbornness. To see, and I brought this up, and I know it has nothing to do with this particular, or it does have something to do with this game, because another thing that happened in the secondary that I didn't like was the play that you saw, the PI after the no timeout, right? After the no timeout, where McCarthy, this one's on McCarthy. He didn't call timeout off that forced fumble. Shout out to Bell. He's very good at punching the ball out. I think that's like his fourth or fifth forced fumble this season. He did pretty good though. But shout out to Bell. That was a great play, right? Great play. Should have got that fumble. But Mozzie gets his first sack right after that. We're 2nd and 19. You have and this wasn't 2nd and 19 hurry up offense where you get caught in a look you don't like and hey, you gotta run with it. You called a play where Curse is single high safety. I can't make this up. Curse is single high safety. So I do have an issue with this. And I said it has nothing to do with this game, but it does. Izzy Mukuamu and Wanye Thomas, right? Wanye Thomas played a lot this game. I'm happy he did, but it was only because Hooker's hurt. But Izzy Mukuamu showing us what he showed us in the playoffs last year and not getting ticked is almost as curious, I would say, because it doesn't frustrate me, but I have questions. It's almost as curious as Evans not playing as well, right? Because in that situation where you saw that PI, Curse blows the guy up. But I showed this several times. If Curse just plays the ball instead of the man, instead of trying to kill this guy, he gets an easy interception. It's right. They threw the ball straight to him. He just ran past the ball and launches into the guy. And you could say it's a bad call, whatever. I don't care. It's not Curse's fault.
Yeah, if you play the
shouldn't
ball.
be there. Yeah, play the ball, you get a pick. Play the man, you didn't have to hit him. You knew the ball already passed him because it went right over your head because you ran past the marker where the ball would have been. Hooker catches that. I think Izzy catches that. I think Wanye catches that because the ball was thrown straight. Those were one of those easy overthrow interceptions, like the one I think Dak threw where he jumps and he throws the ball over Cooks. That was one of those type of plays where guy wasn't going to catch the ball anyway. You didn't need to blow him up. So I don't blame Kurtz for that play. I blame
Daniel for
Dan
putting him
Quinn
in that
for
situation.
why is he there in the first place?
Sure.
He's tight in the hips right now. He hasn't been showing that he can play sideline to sideline this season. He's never been a single high safety anyway.
Yeah, it's not
Type,
his game. It's not his
you know.
game,
So,
and this team is going to have a different set of challenges against Miami. The linebackers, the safeties, everybody really. We'll break it all down, but just aesthetically looking at the offense, it reminds me obviously of San Francisco, and they might be the two most, to me, aesthetically pleasing offenses to study in the NFL. It just looks good. It's modern, but they can also mix in some power stuff. They can mix in some zone stuff. It's just a lot that they do. And when you dive into the numbers, we've been kind of jumping into the numbers a lot here of late. We'll take a look at some of the things that they do that you probably saw on film that adds up. The first thing that comes to mind, you called it motion sickness. They are number one in the National Football League in motion. They motion over 80% of the time. So you're going to see them do motion pretty much every single play, if we're being honest.
right.
Every single play. The times I didn't notice it, Akoye, was like towards the end of games where it got a little crunch time, it got a little tight. They weren't really motioning as much. They're number one in play action usage. So they're going to run either an RPO or they're going to run some cool play action look. And a lot of the times it's going to be married to what their pass game looks like. It's again, very much looks like San Francisco. Another thing that's at San Francisco, they are number one in 21 personnel usage. So they're going to use a whole lot of that fullback. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's going to play roughly 17, 18, 20 snaps per game. And they'll dump the ball off to him. So you can't forget him. He's not the cat in San Francisco, use check, but they're going to use him in that way and a throw out of it too, a lot. So you don't know. It looks like run, but nope, they're doing play action. They got guys going all over the place, and they'll throw it. But if you come out there because of those weapons, if you come out there in a light box, they will run on your ass. They get the fourth. They have the fourth highest rate. The fourth highest rate of light box rushing attempts in the National Football League. And of course, right? Of course, because they got these guys on offense. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, and Devon A-Chain, or is it still A-Chain? I know they've been switching his name up or whatever. But when you got Reek and you got Waddle out there, you have to make a decision. And we play a lot of single high. Okoye, I'm really nervous about it if they come out here and do single high stuff. I don't think that's a good idea.
Man, see, Scott, listen. Like sometimes I mess with people. When I say mess with, I just don't want to curse and say F with.
Hey, look,
but sometimes I mess with people because they energy cool. You know what I mean? We got the same type of interests and shit like that, right? You one of those guys, man, where it's like I told you, we started off debating and going back and forth because we're similar in a lot of ways. But bruh, man, when it comes to like pattern recognition on some real, man, you catch things that a lot of people, and I know it's a lot of people because it's even professional coaches who I see don't catch it. You catch things that a lot of people don't catch, man. Your pattern recognition skills is crazy, man.
You're number one in that.
That's on the film, though. Like what you just said is on the film. Like what you said. Like you don't want to play with them single high.
Nah, bro. And teams,
you don't want to play. You can't win. It's not. You're not gonna deal with that. Unless you choosing, you're gonna single high one, and you covering only one guy, which is stay over top of Tyreek Hill single high. And the other guy, Bland, is just asked to cover one-on-one.
Maybe if Reek is out the game. Maybe if Tyreek's out the game and you say, like you said, all right, I'm a shade towards Waddle or opposite, right? Waddle's out the game, I'm a shade towards Reek. But they don't give you that opportunity. And, as we get into what they do offensively, more so from a pass game standpoint, to me, when I look at this is I know this is going to sound cliche, timing-based offense. All right, look, everything technically has timing into it. But this just seems like it's way more of a timing-based offense with elite window dressing pre and post snap. So what I mean by that is as soon as that back foot hits for Tua, he wants to get that rock out. And you said it perfectly in how you describe we were talking about Dak and whatnot. Like Dak is diagnosing pre and post snap. He's moving safeties and linebackers with his eyes. He's moving them with the ball. McDaniels is doing that with the scheme. Like
Yep,
all
for
this is
you.
happening with the scheme
What we
for you.
call him, the air fryer. He's the
You
air
call him the
fryer
air
coach.
fryer, the air fryer of the
And
coach.
all you gotta do is put the food in there. It's gonna come out good,
Press the
man. You
button,
just
it's
got
gonna come out good.
press the button. That's all you
Press the
gotta
button,
do,
you're
man.
good to go. And
Yeah,
that's what they have. They've got like baked in easy buttons that really might not
yeah,
seem easy from the naked eye because you have to
yeah.
make layered throws. Again, when we hear about precision, I'm sorry, when we hear about layered throws, we hear about anticipatory throws, we think San Francisco. Well, duh, Mike McDaniels comes from San Fran. He just brought
There
it
you
to
go.
Miami. And that's one thing I will give credit to Tua, right? Like he is good at making those layered throws. He's an accurate thrower. And if he is on
Mhm,
schedule, he'll hit
mhm.
it. If he
Yeah,
gets to that back foot, there's not many quarterbacks that if it's there or slightly there that are doing
mhm.
it better than Tua off that
Right.
back foot. He wants to throw it in that hole. He wants to needle it. He don't care. It might be a
Yeah.
pick, but a lot of the times is hitting. And I wanted
You
to
got
show
that kind
this
of
play.
speed. It's easy. Yeah.
I wanted to show these actually two plays. Let me see here. Boom, boom. Hopefully it works here for me. Wanted to show a couple plays here from the two games that I studied. I studied the Titans game and I studied the Raiders game. By the way, I assume the Titans played good run defense on them. They ran for almost 200 yards on the Titans. And I will talk about that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is one of the plays I wanted to show where teams are just not going to play a whole lot of single high unless it's out of cover 3 look. And that's what the Titans do in this one. They disguise it. They come out, they change the pictures too high, and they're going to change it to a cover 3 match with that number 2 wide receiver here in the slot. Matching, I think that is Sid. I think that's Sid Wilson, right? So how are they going to counter this? Well, this is where they really want to get the shot at, in my opinion, the Miami Dolphins. They want to hit this, we call it the honey hole, sweet spot, thread the needle, whatever you want to call it. That's where they're trying to get the ball at. And how do they do it? Pre-snap motion. We're going to motion out. Sid Wilson at the snap. We know it's cover 3 match. These guys are going to go back in their zones. This linebacker at the snap cheats up a little bit too much. They're going to run out 21, and I think this is Jalen Waddle right behind that. Soon as he cuts in, and soon as Tua plants that foot, the ball is coming out right now for an easy catch, big play. I mean, and if you go look, most teams you'll say, okay, this is an easy throw, but this is designed. This isn't Tua having to move nobody. And
I'm gonna
look at this
stop you
window.
again, man.
Go ahead.
It's not the same game, but it's in the Washington game. That same exact play is in the breakdown you're about to see. So you 100. You on point again. But go ahead.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
I'm just setting you
Same
up, bro.
exact play.
I'm throwing the alley
Skinny
for you a
post
little
with
bit later.
the
Throwing the alley for you.
skinny post with the hole with the flat. Like that same look is there, man. You good.
Okay, but
Go ahead,
Sky,
man.
what
I'm enjoying.
happens if if a team comes out and they say, all right, we're not going to play around with it. We're just going to drop everybody. They still have answers, right? So in this game, the Raiders, who played them pretty well, they were having some
Raiders did
success.
play them good,
Yeah, they were having some success against them on the ground because they did a lot of rallying and tackling. And we'll talk about the edge defense. But on this play right here, they go 4 strong because the Raiders they kind of been even. They were equal with their numbers. What I mean by that is if you had 3 guys on one side, they have 4 over there, right? In this case, the Raiders come out, again, we're going to change the picture at the snap. We're going to rotate the safeties, kind of that 3 high, 4 underneath, cover 3. This isn't really a match, though, at this time. And you're going to have these guys play their zones. Well, how do they match on this side? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 strong. And the way they do this is why Mike McDaniels is so damn good. He's going to cause a whole lot of confusion, man. He's going to motion in the outside wide receiver, drop in the middle to make that linebacker squeeze, right? He's going to move this tight end out to the flat curl area, and he's going to also, just in case you don't bite, I'm going to go ahead and do a pop motion or send my running back over there just to draw up that cornerback if I need to. And right behind all of that, guess who? Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
As soon as my guy plants his foot, it's a wrap. Boom, it's out. And there it is.
Yeah.
You
got no time to think.
You got no time to think. And then it's Tyreek. If you don't tackle, it's see you. Good night, Charlene. It's over. So it's really a timing-based offense, Akoye, and it's a really damn good timing-based offense. And if you're not where you need to be, they will make you pay.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. The fact that they do a lot of the left to right. I say they like to get you going left to right so they can go north to south. You know what I mean? If you can pick your poison though. If you choose to keep the lid on, they're gonna beat you going left to right. If you try to come down and sit on everything and play tight, they're gonna beat you north to south. So it's
Yeah.
like you choose how you want to die, but it's definitely gonna be death
You,
in most cases.
I feel like you gotta win at the line of scrimmage early, right? Like you gotta make Tua get off his spot,
Yeah,
man. If
man,
he's off his
100%.
spot, you got a chance. Sure.
You gotta infuriate Tua, and then you have to your defense communication has to be like PhD level, because KC did a hell of a job, but they're a zone team, so it's like I don't see us doing a lot of the things that they did, but they did a hell of a job because you can tell they all knew what was going. The secondary anyway, all knew their assignments on most plays because those motions were freeing up a safety. That safety will now come down in the box. He's now going to be hot and go after Tua. So that, and then the other safety on the opposite side now replaces him,
Yeah.
and the corner opposite side now becomes the safety in their cover two, and then that linebacker or someone else will take the flat. And it was like they all know this because it's not like that was the play that was called. They'll come out in one play, and then based on the motions, their KC's counter to that it was like I don't even know what to call it, but it was just like a combination zone where everyone kind of they have option zone, so everybody has something new to do based on a
That
certain
motion
alignment.
or alignment. Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, if he's here, you're going, but you all have to be able to communicate at a high level to do that. And
RC
if you
talked
can't,
about
you're
that.
stuck playing man. Yeah,
Ryan Clark talked about that in Dick LeBeau's scheme, and they have a veteran secondary, right, with Troy Polamalu, RC, and a couple of these other guys. Where, like you said, here's the call, but because we've played together, we've seen things. We know if the picture changes post snap, there's no communication. We know where to be, and that's probably why KC, Spag's defense is different, I think, than our defense. I was going to ask you because one of the things I noticed on film was that changing the picture. And I know it looks like they changed the picture here, but they just did it with the safety, and it really wasn't a whole lot going on underneath. But changing the picture underneath seems to work decently against him. But do you see the Cowboys, like Dan Quinn's defense, doing that at a consistent rate? I don't know that I
no,
see that.
we don't do it. And when we played zone, we did it against Byron Young. That's his name, right? Carolina.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Yeah, Bryce Young. We did it against him, and he made it look good for a drive anyway. Because when we were trying to like play some of that surprise zone and just we our spacing isn't right, and our timing isn't right, and our communication isn't the same because we don't play a lot of zone. So I think there's too much space and opportunity when we play zone, especially in the middle of the field. But it's there when we play man as well. The only difference is Tua ain't going to take off and run. But when you look at some of those fronts that we came out with, even in the last game, against a quarterback that we knew would attack the middle of the field one way or the other, run or throw, there was nobody in the middle of the field in some cases because we like to play man. So when they're running those motions, I don't see us switching. I don't see us, trying to surprise them with zone unless we're like in the goal line or something like that or in the red zone. But yeah, I don't see that happening. I think we're going to try to man up and dance with the girl who brung you. And that's going to be interesting to watch because I don't know how well. This team is a team that wants you in a cover one, cover three look.
My goodness,
so you'll be in too high. They will move around to make you come down and bring a safety down. They do it on purpose or to show what that safety is doing.
Philly tried to do
man
that.
Zone.
Right. They try to bump out an extra guy, and now it's 4 guys over here. Now your safety has to show if it's man or not. But they're not, they're not Miami. So
yeah, they want you in single high, and that's where we like to be. So it's like, who's going to win that? I don't know. I do know though, the one thing that stands out to me is the fact that we're number 1 in pressures, and the one way you stop all this is get into his face. So if we can hit to it early and often, if Michael Parsons is in there and in his face early and often, he ain't getting away from him. So that is the way to beat this team. It's not, you're not going to cover them to death. You're not going to just slow them down and have them, play a calm game.
Hey,
you're going to have to get after Tua.
We talked about, hey, you can hit Josh Allen all day. He don't really care. He big country strong
Yeah.
dude, whatever.
Oh, Tua care.
This is different. This is
Tua
different.
care.
I'm not saying I don't want him to get hurt or get knocked out, but this is the type of dude you hit him hard enough, he will get knocked out the game, or he'll fumble
Man,
with the ball. I mean,
that's like what police and people in the military say. I didn't join up to kill anybody. Sure you did.
Sure you
I don't want anybody to get hurt. Sure you don't. Sure you
This
don't.
is, but this is proven. This is just what we've seen
I
last
like
year,
hurting shit, man.
and what we've seen this year. When you hit Tua, man, he'll drop the rock. He'll drop his eyes. He get a little funky, and he's just not big bodied enough to really take it all day. So you have to be able to do it. And Mike knows this. Mike McDaniels knows. That's why he's trying to get the ball out fast. Why you think the Miami Dolphins have the second most yards after catch in the National Football League? Tua leads the league in passing, right? But he has the 22nd most passing attempts. And that's because these dudes is just get the ball out and use your speed. Vroom, vroom. They just use your speed, get the rock, and you're going for 60, 70, 80 yards. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, because we're talking about pass game, and for the most part, we usually feel good about our secondary, right? Granted, this is a great team with great weapons, but our secondary really wasn't the issue coming out of that game. It was dealing with the run, Akoye. Right. And the way Miami attacks you is going to be a little bit different than the way Buffalo is going to attack you. It's going to be very similar to how San Fran would attack you.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. Except, okay, don't kill me when I say this. Mm-hmm. Got to figure out how to say this correctly. So San Fran has Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. Very good running back, or maybe the best running back in the National Football League.
Maybe.
Tough back to deal with. The Dolphins have two tough-ass backs to deal with. They have a dynamic duo back there with Raheem Mostert and A-Chain, and they use them to perfection. And
yes, they do.
Dan Quinn was asked about this, and this was Dan Quinn's kind of explanation on dealing with that run game.
Yeah, I think there's a relentless nature in the way that they can attack an edge. And I think when you're going against a team that has very good speed, you really have to try to build a wall on the outside. There's all sorts of weapons that they have, but the speed that you can use a running back from out of the backfield, in motion, use them in the backfield, in empty, and bring them back in quickly on jets, that's the type of speed that you better be prepared for laterally, because if they can get a crease, then they can turn it into vertically. So I think, for us going to have our hands full knowing that we got to set edges and really do a great job of tracking the player when they're out, on an outside run, to make sure that outside run stays going laterally to the sideline and not where they're able to turn it up and use all that good speed that they both have. But for years, I've been impressed by Mostert. He also has a violent nature about him. He can cut and plant, and he's just a physical finisher. So he definitely has been somebody that's had my respect for a long time.
He said it right in there. He talked about, defending those edges, and boy, do they ever attack the edges. 136 rush attempts off the edges, and they're averaging over 5 yards per carry, and they got 10 touchdowns out there. Just to kind of give you a reference, they've got almost 50 more attempts on the edges than the Cowboys do. So that's a couple games worth, half a season.
Styles make fights too, man.
So,
styles make fights, because we were just talking about the fact that the secondary, they want you in cover one, and we play cover one, but they want to run the edges, and we just so happen to be a team that struggles with stopping runs to the edges. So the style in this game, is not, doesn't look like it's tilted in our favor. But the good thing is, if you look at this game and the way they like to play, if we can come out there, they'll show me something. If we can come out there and stop Miami's offense, or change some things that surprise them, I will be highly impressed.
Yeah,
and I will feel a lot more confident going into the playoffs. So you're right about the confidence factor going into the playoffs and actually playing this game on the road as well. This being a big game, but also from just a defensive perspective, if we're able to show some new wrinkle that creates some confusion for this team, I'd be impressed and surprised.
I love that. I love that thought, because I don't know that we've really seen like, oh man, this was different. This was new. I don't think we've seen that yet. And I think sometimes you do have to throw a certain team a curveball. And this one specifically, talking about the ground game, one of the things I noticed, you look at their offensive lines, kind of similar when I look at San Fran's, you don't see a bunch of Pro Bowlers, right? But one thing that they do really good, at least in the games I watch, is man, they get to that second level and they can get out in space and they know how to stick to these linebackers. And what did we just talk about with our linebacker? Our linebackers in this last game, they really couldn't, figure it out at the second level. Miami, they'll do these. I don't even know how to explain it, bro. They have these weird kind of like yo-yo wind back type of where they'll motion the running back, right? They'll motion them this way. And then at the snap, it's a counter. But at the same damn time, they got a linebacker or a tight end kind of doing a little whoop-de-doo circle thing, and he's now pulling, and then the center's pull. It's crazy. It's a bunch of craziness.
It's like they do loop traps. I call it like a loop trap. They're not coming across the line with a trap. They're going on an angle. So it's like he comes back across the quarterback on a 45-degree angle and traps the end. Or sometimes they'll do it. I never seen that before too. It's on the film, but they'll do it and they'll try to trap block the nose tackle. I'm like, with a fullback or with the tight end. I'm like, I never saw that. So they'll create like motion and they'll do a yo-yo motion, and then that tight end now is the lead blocker going up the middle of the field, but it's like all off of emotion. I'm like, you can't anticipate. There's no way you can anticipate what they're doing. Even if you watch the film, you study their film, everything looks some of the things look the same. So sometimes that tight end is hitting the edge and trapping the edge.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's lead blocking. Sometimes he's staying front side where he motioned to. You don't know what he's doing, so you can't just watch the film and say, "Oh, this motion is going to be that." You can't tell. The closest I got to a pattern, like I said, was singular motion in a big formation is usually a run. Or sometimes you get a play action out of it, but it's usually a run. And if I see 2 or 3 motions in one play where, the wide receiver motions out and the tight end comes back across, they're usually throwing the ball. That's the closest I got to a pattern from those guys.
No,
Other than that.
And you're right. They will throw out of motion damn near every time. And obviously if they're motioning 80% of the time, they also will run out of motion too. But man, they make it tough. And this is going to be a big game. We talked about it last week for Osa, but it's going to be a big game for the interior line to really just be disruptive, so that these linebackers can be clean, because they're going to test your guys. He has a master's degree. Mike McDaniels has a master's degree.
He got a PhD.
Black belt.
A 6 Sigma black belt.
He got a black belt. He's got a black belt in creating leverage. We always give Shanahan the credit, right?
Right.
But for years, nobody really understood. Behind all of that was Mike McDaniels. He was the run game coordinator over there. So this is why you may miss a guy that understands the position at linebacker, because you can't get fooled with your eyes in this game. If you misstep one time, that's all it takes to get sealed off. And Mike McDaniels has done an amazing job at doing that for this team. And I looked at A-Chain, bro. Let me go look at this one more time, make sure. This ain't no typo. He has 72 carries, bro. He's averaging 8.5 yards per carry. 8.5 yards per carry doesn't make any sense.
No,
and that's because he's a home run hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought, and this is just being honest, man. I don't BS. I think offensively we give anybody trouble. But I thought when we looked at these two games that Buffalo would be the game, and this one would be like we don't match up well defensively against them, because the things they like to do are the thing on every level of the offense are the things we struggle with. Motion, we struggle with motion. The only thing that we have that they don't, that we struggle with, that they don't have, is a running quarterback. We don't like running quarterbacks, and they have a stationary quarterback. So that is our claim to fame in this game. We have to control the line of scrimmage and get in the backfield, but everything else they do, motion. We like to play man. They have a man killer scheme. You know what I mean? We don't guard the edges well. They run the edges more than anybody else in the league. So the things that they like to do offensively scare the shit out of me in this game, man. So like I said, this will be a game where I'm very impressed and excited if we can come out here and not only just play well, but show some new wrinkles and show that we are actually scouting ourselves. Because if you're scouting yourselves and you see, hey, these guys are, this is how we think a team may attack us, then, this will be that game that will show me that you are.
100%. And let's
Yeah.
go further into the film to see exactly how Miami attacks people with their guy Akoye. So whenever you're ready, man, fire it on
Um,
up.
yes, sir. I'm over here. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Yes,
You
sir.
good to go?
Yep.
All right. Well, I put the run plays in here early. We talked about this at length. You see that singular motion. You have to, and Dan Quinn actually spoke on this. You have to create a wall out there. So edge control is the most important aspect of stopping the run for those guys, because when you can cut these guys off with those edges rather than letting them get north to south, you don't have to worry about what your linebackers are doing, because you're creating an opportunity for them to counter. And when they're countering, they're going to filter everything back to those linebackers and to those interior linemen, which I think interior lineman wise is our strength. So we want them countering. Look at Ridgeway too. That's that Dallas Cowboy product. But when they're countering, I actually want to talk about this play, so I'm going to pause it real quick. But when they're countering, they're filtering everything back inside. And I was saying we need to start doing this, but I don't know if we're going to put Evans in there or not, but we need to start funneling all the traffic to the center of the field and not letting guys pin and trap us on the outside. And you can see what KC did, what Washington did was they made sure they either kept contained, or they just got upfield on the outside to force the action back to the middle linebacker. I wanted to point this play out though, because I just told you that they'll sometimes do that trap block on the nose tackle. See that there?
Yep.
Fullback right there
Is that
trying
a
to block the
fullback?
nose.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? But yeah, they funneled everything KC funneled everything to their middle linebacker. And you can see that funnel right there. Like, you have nothing on the outside. They forced them to run everything inside. And I think if we have any chance of success against that type of speed, it's going to have to be this way. It's going to have to be done this way. You're going to cut everything off on the outside, make it so that they're hard pressed. Because if you get pinned inside like this here, you can see like it's over for you. And this is, I think, Mosher doing it. If A-Chain gets out on the edge, it's going to be a long day for us, man. Like, you can't let these guys get north to south like that, because they're going to hurt you. So Washington did a good job at that. What they do off of that is a lot of creative play actions, but you need to keep two guys back there, man. Too high looks force them to pull that ball down and throw underneath, and then you have some success based on the fact that you have to chase and tackle. And I think we're a good pursuit chase and tackle team. But this is why I call it motion sickness. If you can't see the wording at the bottom of the screen, you see what Washington is in, right? Right now they're in a too high look. They look pretty good to defend this. You have now a safety that's over Tyreek Hill, who's in the slot right there. And it's good. It's 3-by-1 set. They have that running back there, and this is a tell. When you see the running back the same side of a 3-by-1 set, because usually they're opposite. But when you see him on the same side, there he's motioning, and they're usually going to use that motion to break or force you to show your hand almost every time. So watch this motion here. There he goes. Now, after the motion, you see Washington now has changed their defense. You got single high safety, but that safety never cheats back to the middle of the field, and I don't know why, but he never cheats back to the middle of the field. And the safety that steps down into the box, I don't know if there's a communication issue between him and the linebacker here, because the linebacker is guarding this tight end. He just didn't cheat over, but so is the safety. I don't know why you have Tyreek Hill in the slot and you double team a tight end. That didn't make they're playing inside out coverage or bracket coverage on the tight end. And I know they didn't call that. So I don't know why they did that, but they paid for it, because you see how far out that safety is. And like I said, if you're reading this, it's already too late, because you give that type of space to Tyreek Hill and to it, he's not even going to think about it. He's going to take that shot every time. He's going to take that shot. And he's right for doing so, because he trusts Tyreek Hill. And then you're pressing on the line of scrimmage. So I know the communication wasn't there, because there's no way that corner would have stayed that close to the line of scrimmage, not knowing that his safety just stepped down to guard the tight end. He thought he had safety help, and he didn't. And that's what I mean by the motions will stress out.
Cannot have miscommunication, bro.
Yep. Here's that play that you just now pointed out. Let me go back to this. It's crazy that you had this play in there, but it's the same play. They're going to motion that running back out, boom, hold the flat, and watch what they do to the nickel, right? So they're making him choose. If you hug the flat, we're going to get behind you. Either way, you're held. and then they threw that slant right behind him, but this
Tight
time
window.
it was to Weddle and not to Tyreek. But you see that skinny post right behind him, And these are some of I call these screens because you'll see that those receivers, nobody's running a route except for Waddell on this play. So these are like I call them long developing screens because everybody's getting in position to block. You see that? Nobody is running a route other than Waddell. So that was a one-man route. They do these a lot, and Waddell is very good with yards after the catch. So is Tyreek Hill. They take turns doing these, what I call like ISO plays, and you'll see that a lot. Now Tyreek and Tua have a great relationship because he's communicating with him now. They have option routes built in, but he was communicating, telling them what he's going to do on this play. And you see post snap, they got caught they rolled into a single high look, and that safety was standing flat. I don't know why he took so long to get out of his pedal, but it was done. Like from the go, it was done. Off that motion, they're going to kill you. He ate up his cushion and was over. So, the ways to beat this team is not to cover and stop them deep. Is to get in the backfield and do stuff like this. Frustrate Tua. You see his footwork. He ain't running nowhere, man. You got to frustrate him and get him to pull that ball down. And then you have an opportunity, to beat them. And then you have to have elite communication. Watch KC's communication on this play. They're all looking at each other and checking, right? After the motion, that safety is now released. He's coming down to blitz, and it looks like they gave him a look that they want. It looks like single high, but it's not. It's not.
Changing the picture.
It's not. It's like because that corner on the opposite side, he's playing thirds. He just didn't have anybody release on that side, but you see he got underneath.
Pause that when you get a chance.
Got you. Boom. You want me to go back?
No, you're good. Just what you just showed right there. They do a lot. They do this a lot. 2-man routes. They'll kind of semi-max protect, depending if it's a tight end over there. So that is a max protect. Go ahead. Yep. That's essentially a max protect, I think. I don't think this tight end goes out. Let me see. Run it.
It's running.
Yep. So they'll do this 2-man route thing. This was a great call by Spags, but hell of a goddamn throw.
Yeah.
Great call by Spags. Hell of a throw.
They're making them earn it, though.
Woo.
You got to make them earn it, though. And that was great communication. Same thing here. So this is the same thing. They have it where they're happy to play too high. If you snap the ball right now, they're playing too high. As soon as you see those motions, they start talking. And now he's blitzing and they're rotating. And now they're going to still get that too high look, but that opposite corner is now going to have to roll up the field as that second deep man. So they're playing man underneath. That safety is able to get over the top of that, and they're frustrating McDaniels due to the fact that you're changing things pre-snap, but they're changing as well, and they were rotating like their coverage. And I think KC, as far as coverage is concerned, did the best I saw on film against this offense. Even though they scored 14 points, but I didn't see a lot of crisp timing routes. They were having to really fit it in there, and I don't think he had over 200 yards that game either.
That's what you want to make him do, man. Like again, you showed the play where he got it. He fit it in a tight window. He'll thread the needle. But this is where I would love, Malik Hooker to be here. This is where I would love to see some awareness in the pass game because you can get your hands on some of these balls and get interception.
Oh,
you can.
He's gonna give you opportunities.
It's gonna give you opportunities,
especially. But see, the thing that I didn't see, and I maybe I just didn't watch the right game. I didn't see a team successfully play man against them. I didn't watch the Buffalo game. I didn't see a team successfully play man and get turnovers. The teams that were given to a problems as far as turnovers were zone-heavy teams where you're going to rotate, you're going to disguise things. We don't disguise anything. So I don't know how well we're going. Like I said, you never hear Akoye talk like, well, I don't know about this, but I don't know how well.
That's facts. You usually have an answer.
You never hear me say that, but I'm like, I don't know how well we're going to, because of how stubborn we are defensively and we stick to what we do. I don't know if we're going to change enough in a week to be able to confuse a guy that, a team that's, this polished when it comes to what they want to do, disguising things and moving things around. They play 3-card Monty with offense.
We call it 4D chess. What I love about both of our breakdowns in this, for like the first time I think ever this year, we actually broke down different games in both of the games we watched. So there's 4 total games. You said you didn't see man coverage, do well. I didn't either. I studied the 2 games. I didn't see no man coverage. And then the game I studied earlier, which I wasn't really preparing for them, I was preparing for the Patriots. Patriots was like, man, forget this.
They took Gonzalez and took him way back there.
They started
with 3 back there.
They started with it. Three
Yep. They
safeties for
played
like
what do you call quarters coverage?
quarters
The whole
coverage from
time.
the rip. It wasn't like we playing press bail. They was like, nah, we're
Mhm.
staying back. So no
Yep.
team is really just rolling out man on you, which is
Yeah.
probably explains why they're so successful on the ground is
Yeah.
because they're getting light boxes.
Yeah.
And this is going to have to be the return of what I call the edge defense, Akoye. You won't be able to see it, through restream here, but if you look on the show, the edge defense, EDGE, edge containment, the number one thing we talked about in regards to the run game. They're going to test you on the edge. You need to make it funnel back to the middle. Hopefully our backers play a little bit better than they did last week. Disciplined defense. That means from the eye level from the linebackers and obviously in the secondary too. You absolutely cannot be undisciplined back there like the Washington football people were, where their safeties was falling asleep. You honestly, I'd rather you be 30 goddamn yards deep every single time,
Yep.
so you can have enough
Or we
time to
chasing
adjust.
tackle underneath. Yeah.
You gotta be disciplined, man. If you're
That's it.
undisciplined, you're going to pay, and you may pay either might be 15-yard gain, 20-yard gain, or 76-yard gain. That's how
Right.
explosive they are. G
Right.
in the edge defense, gap integrity. Like we cannot have what happened, earlier in the years against like Arizona. There was a few times it happened against San Fran where we're trying to jump into the wrong gaps and play a little bit of hero ball because we're frustrated because that's what they want. They want you to jump in the wrong gap so that they can get that pulling guard, tackle, or tight end at the second level with ease, and your linebackers can't get downhill. And then the biggest one here, because even if you do mess up, sometimes this will save you, and it's effort. For edge defense is effort. And I'm showing a picture right here. You see how many jerseys are around the ball carrier for the Raiders? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 jerseys are rallying to the ball carrier. I think they might have got like 2 or 3 yards. You absolutely have to do this you have to. I know maybe, play action might get you here and there, but when you see that ball is hitting the edge, I need 11 helmets, cowboy helmets, running towards the ball, not half-assing it, not, I'm going to let D-Law, because, D-Law made a play, Akoye.
Oh, a hell of a play.
A couple of them, but you showcased one of them. The first run of the game, D-Law is playing on the opposite hash.
That wasn't his play to make.
It wasn't his play to make. So we need that type of effort. And then you showed another play later in the game where he did the same damn thing. So edge defense, man, we're going to need all.
D-Law got blocked on that play. He was all the way to the right of the screen. Him and Wanye. Wanye's deep. D-Law got blocked all the way out of the screen. Well, not really blocked out, but he did his job. He set the edge. And he's the first man to the ball opposite side. I mean, he beat everybody interior and even Micah and everybody who was on the left side to the ball. I'm like, that's effort. We need that from everybody. Yeah, like you said, run around like your hair is on fire.
Yeah.
Because they run around like theirs is. So you better.
100%, man. And before we move on, by the way, we're about to start hashtag Ask Akoye, so drop your questions in there. I mean, I really do love what you said when you talked about I would love to come out of this game pleasantly surprised of some wrinkles. Because I don't know that I'm trying to think here. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't recall many games where I'm like, man, that was a hell of a wrinkle. I do remember in the playoffs though, they did that to Tom Brady. They tripped Tom up a few different times, and it's like, man, if you can trip up the GOAT, let's keep doing stuff like that. But obviously, different defense. But if I come out this game and we're like, oh man, I didn't see this type of either match zone blitz, we're sending Donovan Wilson or Jordan Lewis. Like we don't do that. Kansas City blitzes their DBs. Maybe
we don't blitz our nickels or we don't blitz safeties. We blitz Curse every once in a while, but I don't really count that because he's like a will linebacker to us. We don't blitz those guys a lot. We don't really blitz generally a lot anyway. But the only wrinkle that I've ever seen us do this season is like some games you might see Micah Parsons in the A gap for a game, like the Carolina game, stuff like that. But outside of that, there's wrinkles up front, but nothing on the back end. The back end is like we cover 1, cover 3, man. It's gonna be cover 1, it's gonna be cover 3. You know what you're getting. It's cover 1 or cover 3. That's it. Okay, you want a wrinkle? Play off.
This is
play on. Press or not. That's it. You want it.
This is the new wrinkle.
You want it pressed and creased, or you want it loose? Like, which one? That's it. That's it.
I don't even want to call it a wrinkle because we seen it in training camp. They were practicing this or whatever. They start off with LVE. we'll put LVE on the edge, and make it look like a 5-man down. Looking now is Damone Clark. And you ran a play where it's like, why is he here? Because he's not doing linebacker things, as this kind of outside linebacker making it a 4 or 5-man front. It didn't make any sense. So that's the new wrinkle, but it's not a wrinkle anymore because teams see this and they're like, we're not afraid of you putting Damone Clark on the edge. If you're not going to blitz him, it makes no sense. So
You're standing him over there to get hit. So like, no.
Indeed, man. Indeed. I thought we had a real question here. AA Ron talking about put some money. All right, man. Come on. Let's get hashtag Akoye questions up in here. Mel said it sounds like Rashard defense. Rashard focused on a lot of coverage. He was like
Rashard
was more
had some wrinkles though.
He was more coverage.
Rashard would do stuff like he took. I remember that Saints game. He took J-Lou. He said, "You gonna cover Kamara?" And I'm like, "Oh, that was different." You know what I mean? So we would do that sometimes with Rashard, but he was a stubborn one too.
He brought the Seattle defense like almost. This is what we doing the same damn thing we did in Seattle.
Everything.
Dan is like, we're not doing anything we did in Seattle. He for 3 years.
You like Seattle? You like the LOB? Yeah, you're not gonna see any of that here.
No. Yeah.
Did you like Atlanta? Yeah, we liked Atlanta. You're not gonna see any of that here. You like traditional linebackers like we had in Atlanta, like Deion Jones and Aloku? Yeah, or whatever his name is.
They had Campbell, Devondre Campbell.
Yeah, they had real linebackers. Yeah. Like, you're not gonna see any of that here. We're gonna use safeties. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
He got here and he tried to he got a little cute with it.
It's like go to a concert. Like, you like my catalog? Yeah, we love your catalog.
Go play the new shit.
Play the new shit. We'll play my mixtape.
Can't trade nobody, man. Everybody asking about. Okay, we'll do this one. George Smith asked Akoye, how did Mozzie and Carl Davis look on film to you?
To be honest, right, a lot of people criticize them, but I like what Davis did. I like Mozzie did well too. Mozzie had his reps. I mean, he ran 49 times. He made about 3 or 4 plays that I say was like, okay, Mozzie did a good job here. But that's per the usual, I guess. And then same thing with Davis. I think he did a good job as well. But they weren't getting. When I say good job, I don't mean they're getting splash plays and getting upfield. They're holding up blocks. And they're
freeing up the backers.
They're freeing up the backers and maintaining their position at the line of scrimmage. They did a good job at that. I think if you want to say outliers as far as the defensive line, D-Law we mentioned, Chauncey was a hell of a problem. Osa did, Osa. I think they figured out Osa. Like, you get two guys on Osa, you can get some push there because he's only 285. Chauncey's only 285 too, but Chauncey's just a bigger frame 285. Like he's a lot like David Irving. He's a tall guy.
He put on some weight too a couple years ago to take on.
Maybe a little heavier than that then. So who knows?
No, I think you're about right. But he was 264 coming in his rookie year, and he said he put on some weight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's about in 280, 290 now. Solid though. But Chauncey did a great job. I think that if there was, like I said, the gap was the linebackers to me. So I think the defensive line across the board did okay. Even Nev made some plays where I said, okay, we could have made some plays based off of what they were doing. It's just when your defensive line gives you the oop as a linebacker, meaning like, okay, I'm gonna stop his feet.
You gotta oop it.
Blow him up. But they're not doing that. You saw what I just showed in the KC film. Is like, okay, they threw the oop to that middle linebacker. They said, all right, we're funneling everything to you. You got to make that tackle. You got to make that play. And when our linebackers were asked to do that, they weren't able to. So I think the main problem was the linebacker play, not the defensive line or the secondary. Those guys did okay. The linebackers weren't doing great.
Couple questions about the same question from CT Madhead and Kurt Bowler, and I'll touch on this one as well. Can Sam Williams play some backer? And for me, that I'm gonna say no. At least not you can't just do it now. I mean, it's way too late to try to do that. And here's for a couple reasons. First of all, the linebacker duties kind of mirrored like tight ends in the sense of you got to be able to do a whole bunch of different things, right? Like tight ends got to be able to block on the inside. They got to be able to split outside. They got to be able to run routes well. They got to be tough. They got to take on defensive ends, defensive tackles, and linebackers. Linebackers have to be able to cover. They have to be able to diagnose. They have to be able to, obviously, like I said, read and diagnose. Come downhill. It's not just about the physical presence and the style and the speed and things like that. And no offense to Sam Williams, I don't think he has it from the neck up at this current stage of his career to be able to handle all the responsibilities that the linebacker position entails. He's never done it. He's an undisciplined player, and he probably just needs to be a player going forward right now on the edge until I don't even know if he's ever. I mean, I know this is just a hypothetical question. I don't think he's ever going to be a linebacker, but it's just way too much. It would take like a year and a half of training for him to even remotely be ready for that.
Yeah, Sam Williams is a guy that, when you watch him in Ole Miss, he's a freak. He was a two-gapping guy that still got 11 and a half sacks, and that was crazy because they were only playing with 3 down linemen. So for him to be doing that, and taking on double teams, and he was pretty good at stopping the run from there too. I think you leave Sam Williams where he is and let him develop. I think what Sam Williams needs, though, he doesn't need less reps because he's wild. He's one of those guys. You ever seen that kid that's so bad you got to make him like the teacher's pet so you can watch him?
They call it a TS is a TSS when they give him like one of those little. Yeah, they give him a TSS. My brother had one of those. They come over to the crib on a Saturday. Hey, we go mini golfing just to keep your son out of trouble.
We need to keep him busy. Sam, you need him playing more, not less, because of his wild nature.
Love you, bro.
Because I think the reps are going to get that out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, he's not a linebacker. And then agility plays into linebacker play as well. Like
Twitchiness.
Micah Parsons is agile. Yeah. Sam is not. But the argument about rotating different guys at linebacker, to me, it makes less sense when you, like I said this on Twitter and I'll say it real quick. You got 2 top 16 picks at linebacker right now that don't play linebacker. That's the biggest problem. That's Micah Parsons and Evans. And then when you talk about the pass rush issue, if Micah's not at, the edge, you have a first-round talent that's a 10-sack guy if you let him play in Fowler. He's a first-round talent. And Sam Williams is a first-round talent, too. If he didn't get in trouble, he wouldn't have been in the second round. So you have 4 you can start. Those are your starters. You can start 4 first-round talent pass rushers. 4 first-round talent at linebacker and pass rusher if you took that rotation. The way we're doing it now is a log jam, and you're keeping guys off the field. You know what I mean? Those guys are no longer on the field because of that. So that's the issue in my opinion. My humble opinion, but that's the issue. We have linebackers that are first-round talents that went before some good linebackers that are in the league right now. Everybody says we miss LVE. Rashaan Evans is better than LVE, man. And he's better than the other 2 guys that we have playing linebacker as well. They're doing a commendable job trying to learn the position, but they are not Rashaan Evans. And they never have been in this league thus far, right? Last year he had 159 tackles. He wasn't injured. He played 17 games. So there's nothing wrong with Rashaan Evans at all other than the fact that we won't put him on the field.
Yeah. I would love to see it. I don't know if this will be the game. It'd be interesting because the way they attack, I don't know, man.
Maybe not. This might not be a game for him. You might be right on this game because
I don't know.
We talk like he run a 4.8. He's fast enough. He's faster than LV, and LV will be on the field in this game.
It's a tricky game because you still have to defend the run. Remember, I talked about rallying. Like you still got to defend the run. My guy, brother L, asked Akoye, based on how the Bills played against Miami, do we have the personnel to replicate that? That was the number one. The other one was, why is the Aikman jersey backwards but not on your solo show? So I think
it is.
I think it's the mirrored camera or the webcam it's flipped. So I think somewhere, I think it's Restream. I think you have to like flip it back or some weird stuff. Me personally, I don't like to go back and watch a game from week 4 because everything is just so different. So like, it's really hard to go back and look at a game from that far back early in the season where, Buffalo had Matt Milano still there, right? It was an all-pro middle linebacker. And then on the other side of the ball, Jalen Ramsey wasn't available yet. Vic Fangio still getting accustomed to it. It's just really hard to really judge that game based off what they're doing now, who they have now, and things like that. So I don't know. That's tough. It's tough to go back and look at that one there.
We don't play defense like Buffalo.
They're
Buffalo
zone defense.
They play cover 4. They're one of the few teams in the league that run cover 4. A lot of teams. Some people don't even know what cover 4 is. That's how rare you see it. You don't see a lot of cover 4, and they do it well. So Carolina plays cover 4, or at least they played us in cover 4, and so
they did a good job at it too.
Yeah, they're very good. So I don't think we can do what Buffalo did to slow them down, or what KC did. Like I said, the teams that I saw that slowed them down are zone teams. I haven't seen a game where a team wants to play man the way we do, deal with them. You got to realize that offense in San Fran was developed to deal with teams that play cover one, because the NFC West, that's what they play a lot of defensively over there, cover one and cover three, especially Seattle. So they were built to beat Seattle, and their offense in Miami traveled there, and they're built to beat cover one and cover three, and that's what we play. So I haven't seen a team that plays cover one or cover three deal with them, because they're designed to beat that. So are the Rams. They're designed to beat cover one and cover three.
Y'all so wrong in here, man. When did Dan Quinn become Dan Nolan?
No, he's not Dan Nolan.
When does Mike McCarthy go to hold Dan Quinn accountable? I mean, what kind of question is? Yeah, what kind of question is that, man? You don't.
What do you want him to come on?
Yeah, you don't come out. You don't throw your guys under the bus in public, man. You talk. You talk to him. I was watching the show Billions, man, and I forget the dude's name. His son did something wrong, right? And he defended his son in private, right? Or in public, which really wasn't public, but in front of the principal or what have you. He's defending his son right there, and his son is like, "Oh, so Dad, I didn't mess up?" He's like, "No, you fucked up, but we're family. I'm not going to, make you look bad in public. I'll discipline you in private, tell you what you did wrong, what you need to do to be corrected." Dan would be Mike would be a fool to come out publicly and be like, Dan Quinn, you trash, or something crazy like that. So, you correct him in private, man. And you try to figure this thing out. Plus, Dan Quinn been around, Super Bowl champion. He
screwed the pooch.
Yeah, he should be able to correct the damn self. You would hope so, at least. Yeah. One of the main questions. I mean, you should probably chop up all the videos you do about this. And I'm being a little instigator here. Somebody asked a question about why is Micah not playing like linebacker, right? And you've been talking about this forever. And I had to kind of come to your defense a little bit yesterday. And really minds and other people that say, hey, we kind of want to see Micah do more of it. Because it seems to be this whole little key shit on Twitter about Micah playing linebacker, as if we haven't seen evidence that he can do it well. I just don't get it.
You see the guy talk about where's the film? I said, what?
Yeah, my man.
You ain't watched the film.
He said you need to watch the film, and I had to chime in. I said, when people say Akoye needs to watch film, it's hilarious to me.
Yeah,
he has 3-hour videos on YouTube breaking down. He'll spend 20 minutes on the play. What are you talking about?
Yeah, on one play.
Anyway, man, Michael Parsons at linebacker. I don't know how you can keep doing this, but if you got any more in you.
Man, I do, because I feel like, we got to get it trending. That's the thing. I'm trying to get Emmanuel Acho to start talking about it like ASAP. Like, start asking the question so that somebody can start answering it. Because at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this, man. Micah Parsons is going to so we can't be so knee jerk as far as the coaches. So give Dan Quinn some grace.
Sure.
We can't be so knee jerk, and you can't be so knee jerk when it comes to the players. And I think that's part of the problem, because Micah Parsons has spent so much time in the defensive end room, spent so much time on the edge, and so little time doing the things he did as a rookie. As a linebacker, right? Because of LVE, really. If LVE had not been here, Micah would have been forced to play linebacker and learn his position. He hasn't learned the position fully. So there will be some hiccups if you have him playing off ball. And to me, I'm okay with the growing pains. I think what's happening is we're winning, and they're like, hey, we don't want to screw it up, because we don't want to basically spend half the season letting him learn the position.
All over again, essentially.
Yeah. So that's really what I think is keeping him on the edge. But that's why I say guys like Evans being here, who have played the position, who can kind of communicate for him and communicate with him to the point where he gets up to speed. I think Micah can definitely do it. And instinctively, he has no problem with it. Why Dan Quinn doesn't do it is beyond me, because if you have enough patience to watch a safety do it wrong for half a season and take that experiment, and you watch a guy like Clark who's doing okay for most of the season, you have patience with that, and you have patience with LVE. I feel like you should be able to have the same amount of patience with Micah as he adjusts to the position. And I think that if you put him in the middle, like I said, you get 2 pass rushers on the field at any given time. They get more tick, and he's still on the field with them. And you're also funneling all of your run traffic to him. So I think you make Micah a force at middle linebacker, especially if you put another anchor like an Evans right next to him. I don't think a team wants to see us as far as stopping their run, stopping anything. We can stop anything from that front, especially if you want to stay with that nickel package. You only need 2 linebackers. If those are your 2 linebackers, you're only going to need 2. You know what I mean? So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think we kind of, or they, whatever, narrow down the conversation and they don't open up like you just did. Like you addressed the negative portion of it, right? Like he spends so much time as a DE. Yes, it's not going to be, I call it the clickability, right? The ability to see it click and go. It might take some time for Micah. That doesn't mean he cannot do it. It's just that, hey, I've been playing edge 780 snaps and I've been playing box snaps like it says 80 times in his numbers, but really, how many of those are really linebacker? 40 maybe tops, right? So it's going to take some time, but we're not talking about, no offense, Sam Williams here. We're talking about Micah, and I had to defend Micah's football IQ coming out because I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. This kid picked up a totally new position in college and became an all-pro in college at it, right? Like all-world to get drafted at it, and people picked him pride at him, and I was like, again, I don't know what y'all talking about. If you get him in here, get him in the right position, Mike Parsons is going to be a playmaker for you. Yes, he switched a little bit to defense and Akoye, but he made a lot of plays at linebacker.
Yeah. No, he's smart. He's instinctive too. So a guy who wants to make every tackle, of course he's going to be out of position, but it's not because he's not understanding what's going on. Like you remember in the Minnesota game where LVE's guy is the guy in the flat. Micah's he's opposite side. He sees it. He darts past LV to the ball. Was that his man? No. But he's so instinctive. He knows what's going on and he doesn't hesitate. So he's going to go get it. So sometimes that will, if you can show him something that gets him to react too fast, too soon, you can sneak behind him and do some things. But that's the only thing I see in Micah that would not have to change if he plays middle linebacker. He would have to understand how teams are trying to trick him. And once he gets the reps, he'll know. That's all.
And I'll say this: what may be in our favor, and we'll see here, right? Because you're going to be playing Detroit next week. What may be in our favor is that you may potentially only see one team that can really run at you like that, and that team you've actually have had success against Christian McCaffrey. I'm talking about San Francisco 49ers. You've had success against Christian McCaffrey when he was not playing linebacker, although I know it's going to sound crazy. LVE was in the game in those 2 games, but I'm just saying. But you did have some success against it, whereas maybe you'll see Detroit in the playoffs, and we'll see how they play because Micah's not going to play linebacker this year, but maybe you'll have some success. We'll see when we get there. But if you don't see Detroit, you're not going to see Buffalo. You're not going to see Miami. You're not going to see any of these AFC teams. It's going to come down to, in my opinion, one team that can do those things to you, and that's San Francisco. The Rams are a wild card. I will give you that. They're a wild card. Kyron Williams is back. They run really well with Kyron Williams. But at the end of the day, I don't think McVay has it in them to just keep running. I don't think Matt Stafford has it in them either. So
Detroit will run right at you, though.
Detroit will. That's why I said if you don't see Detroit in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens with Detroit, right? Like maybe you run up against Detroit and you have success. This version of Detroit. Cowboys beat Detroit last year, right when they were like 1-8 or something weird. I don't know what they were, and then they figured themselves out. But this version of Detroit's different. They're top 3 rushing team. They got 2 dynamic backs, good play action team. But we'll break them down next week. But anyway, San Fran seems to be the one team that you may see in the playoffs in the NFC that runs the ball, and you've kind of had some decent success against them in the last 2 meetings against Christian McCaffrey. So maybe they look at it as we're not going to panic.
If you're not going to put him in the middle. Put Clark and Evans in the middle, and I'm fine with that. I'm okay with Clark and Evans. I just don't want Bell being the guy, that we're asking to bring the hammer. And then on 3rd downs, Bell should be out there. Or you put Bell in the position that you currently have Kirsten, and I'm not half as mad if it's Clark, Evans, and Bell.
I would love to
as
see
our
Bell
linebackers. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So yeah, Bell can definitely play will linebacker for us and cover some tight end and do some things like that, like Curse is doing. But I don't like it the way him being our middle linebacker is not the answer to this to long-term success in the playoffs.
There you go.
Because
Well,
you saw what they were able to do, and they're going to target him, and it's not going to go well. Once they watch the film of the Bills game, they're going to be looking for Bell the rest of the season. I already know that.
long term, I would much rather him take over the Curse role.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Bell's talented. We're not talking about Bell not having a role in
That's
his
why
team.
I didn't want to do the film. I was like, I don't want to do this to Bell because it's not about Bell. It's really not. It's about how you're using Bell. It's no different if, like, really when I look at Micah on the edge, Micah does some things on the edge that I don't like, but he's not DA. He's not Sam Williams doing that. He's Micah Parsons. He's not in position. He's not a defensive end to me. When you watch D-Law get rid of a blocker and set the edge and make the tackle, you very rarely see Micah just get rid of a guy, not run around him, but I mean just get rid of a guy and just, I'm here. I'm going to make this tackle. That's not how he stops the run. He stops the run from linebacker. But other guys like traditional defensive ends can do that. They do that more so. So if they're not doing it, that's when I criticize like a guy like DA for jumping into the B gap. Even D-Law when he used to do it, because you don't have to. You guys can shed that and break down and stop the run the right way. Micah is not that guy. So when I see teams run at him or they pin him inside, I'm like, that's not how he traditionally stopped the run in college. That's not how he stopped the run when he stopped the run for us here on the Cowboys. So it's like, I know why he has growing pains on the outside stopping the run. Yeah. That's why I don't think about it.
And for those who may have this assumption that Micah doesn't want to do this or that, you're wrong. I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. Micah doesn't want to be pigeonholed in one spot. Now he's going to be a team player. I know that people might get upset because he has a podcast and he may voice his frustrations, or you might see him on the sideline. He'll do what the coaches are telling him to do, but he does not want to be pigeonholed. But that's how they're using him. So he's going to rock.
If you're going to put him on the outside and you want him standing up outside, no matter what, then you have to play 3-4. That's what I say.
Right. You have to move him
around when you want, but he can stay outside for the most part. And he's not dealing with a tackle most of the time. He's dealing with a tight end because that 4 tech is kind of shading the inside of that tackle's shoulder, and he's dealing with the tackle. So then Micah now gets more sacks. He can move around more. He can use his athleticism a lot more. He doesn't have to be as stout. You know what I mean? So if you want him to do that, then you got to play 3-4, in my opinion. So I don't have a problem with what Micah's doing. And as far as him wanting to move around, the best game anybody, and I'll challenge anybody to pull up the film because I watched every game so many times of him doing well that I want to see it. But if you can show me a game that's better than the Minnesota game his rookie year, where he played everywhere, linebacker, edge, but mainly linebacker, that's the best game I've ever seen Micah Parsons in. He had sacks. He had pass breakups. He was tackling them. He was guarding Davin Cook or Delvin. What's his name? Dalvin Cook. He was guarding Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. He was guarding Connor out of the backfield, breaking up passes and tackling the flat, breaking up screen passes.